money for this, I was wondering whether we could start off with an exercise, but after thinking, we just didn't sit very well with me. So what I'm going to request really is for you, thank you for your presence here, for joining us here today, for being courageous enough to come and approach this. Hopefully, whatever we're going to share is going to make a little bit of a difference to you. But what I really want to request now is for you to kind of like empty out your minds and sort of empty out all the preconceived notions or concepts that you already have, be it about sex, be it about sexuality, or about orgasm, which is what I'm going to talk about. Yeah, so once you kind of like leave those baggage or concepts or whatever mental image or emotions that you have tied around sex or the discomfort, if you leave it at the door and you come in here, we really hope that we can create a kind of space. If you want to speak up, please speak up. If you are not, it's perfectly okay. Just to create that space for either a healthy dialogue or for you really just to learn a little bit more. So, what I'm going to talk about today is orgasms. Martha didn't really share, but to me, because when they started discussing about real people, real sex, I wasn't around. So I kind of got stuck with this topic, But when I went back and really thought about it, I thought, okay, this topic is not so bad. I don't have quite that much experience, but it's an interesting topic. But more importantly, what started out at first of the thought of actually participating in this, really just to kind of support Martha, became something that became indirectly a journey of mine when I look about sex or when I look about orgasms in particular. When I wrap up, I'll share a little bit more. But so orgasms, yes. I'm not sure whether any of you have seen this before. This is a sexual response cycle. Martha, she uses it sometimes in the workshops as well. When we talk about orgasms, I think what we really need to do is to look at it in the bigger picture, the bigger context of orgasms as part of they call it a sexual response cycle, right? But part of this whole process of you can call it sex, making love, sexual intercourse, could be anything. But this whole journey, it could really also be a journey that starts with desire, which is kind of like you kind of get into the mood for sex, etc. And then it moves into excitement, which is sort of the result of any erotic, physical, or mental stimulation that lead to sexual arousal, and your body then prepares itself for sexual intercourse. And then next up to plateau, which is the period actually prior to the orgasm, which is characterized by increased circulation and heart rate, increased sexual pleasure, as well as muscle tension. And then finally, orgasms, which is what everybody focuses on. I'm not sure how much you actually miss out if you put your emphasis on orgasms. You kind of missed out a little bit on the excitement, the desire, the foreplay, the creation of all that sexual energy before you actually so-called get into more intense act or the more intense activity itself. So an orgasm is accompanied by quick cycles of muscle contraction in the lower pelvic muscles. It's also often associated with other involuntary actions, including vocalizations, muscle spasms, and in general, a euphoric sensation. So what happens after an orgasm is the resolution part of it. So in that period of the whole cycle, your body or your muscles actually relax, your blood pressure drops, your body slows down from all that excitement. So I guess typically this is the stage where couples, maybe females more especially, kind of like to cuddle, you rest, you just calm down, you just be in the presence of your other partner as well. So my main point of sharing this is to really put it into context, and especially, and also to draw a parallel that in a relationship, be it a romantic relationship or a sexual relationship, besides what is typically focused, I mean, in this case, orgasms, is something that I think the social media, maybe not social media, but it's kind of sensationalized, be it in novels and movies. There's a huge emphasis on you either need to reach orgasm or, I mean, it's kind of like the be all and all, but to me that is obviously not the case, and so not the point, right? So I was doing some quick research. So on dictionary.com, this is how they actually defined orgasms. Physical, emotional sensation experienced at the peak of sexual excitation, usually resulting from stimulation of the sexual organ, and usually accompanied in the male by ejaculation. Could also be intense or unrestrained excitement, and when you use it as a verb to have an orgasm. here they kind of touch on a little, I mean, in terms two aspects, the physical as well as the emotional aspects of an orgasm. Well, I'm gonna kind of talk about it in a little bit more detail. The way I broke it down is you can approach an orgasm from a lot of aspects. So I'm going to subsequently talk about it in terms of the physical, the emotional, the mental, as well as a little bit of the spiritual or the connectivity aspects of an orgasm. So this is, before I go into all the so-called specific aspects, right? I just wanted to say that an orgasm is kind of like a relationship. It's kind of multi-dimensional, multifaceted. There is a lot tied to this one single word. It's like a word, but it's more than a word. It's like an activity and action, but it's a lot more than that, and it can encompass a lot more than that. And that is something that I kind of indirectly want to challenge you to think about. Maybe not think about, but yeah, to just keep that at the back burner for now. And before I move into orgasm, to the physical aspect of it, I also want you to kind of ask yourself, how do you actually differentiate? Because when you approach the word orgasm or the activity or the sexual activity itself, you can come very much from the head or you can come very much from the heart. So maybe for females, it might be a little bit more of the focus on an emotional connection, but it can also come from the head where, oh, okay, I think, or maybe even from the physical aspect of it, for males especially, pardon me if I get it wrong, but the need for sexual release or the need to just get attention out of you, out of your body. So physical. So in terms of the physical aspect of an orgasm, it's kind of mentioned earlier on, but there is basically that sudden discharge of accumulated sexual tension. Right? I'm not sure how. Okay, what I'm going to do is when I touch on each aspect, I'm going to share a little bit on what I call the head, which is like the knowledge base of it, and then a little bit of my personal experiences. This is where I'm going to get stuck. Okay, physical. Obviously, typically, what happens is pretty much what is already described here. But I suppose my experience is pretty much the same. But for me, in terms of the physical aspect of it, it has that whole sudden discharge. It's really a sudden discharge, and your energy level was that high, and suddenly, boom! It just, you let go, and everything just, all the tension is just gone. It's as if you were really like the chart building up to a very, very much of a high. But of course, for each individual, it can be really, really different. So these are just some different charts of the whole sexual response cycle for different individuals. Some have a longer period of excitement, or you can go up and down. It really varies, and it's really dependent on the individual. And of course, male versus females is obviously a whole different story for both genders as well. For males, I suppose if we could kind of generalize, it's a straightforward up and down thing. Whereas for female, you might get a little bit more, I was going to say variety, I'm not sure if I'm right, but yeah. So that's just to share the sort of differences. And the other thing about orgasms is you don't need genitals to achieve an orgasm. I'm not sure if you'll buy that story. Okay, this is something that I firmly believe in. I'm just going to show you, I'm just going to play this clip. It's actually a TED Talk in 2009 in Long Beach, California by this lady called Mary Roach. This TED Talk is titled 10 Things You Didn't Know About Orgasm. I've just basically cut out a little bit here and there to kind of illustrate the point I'm trying to share. So this point that she's talking about is you don't need genitals to get an orgasm, basically.
Orgasm is a reflex of the autonomic nervous system. Now this is the part of the nervous system that deals with the things that we don't consciously control, like digestion, heart rate, sexual arousal. And the orgasm reflex can be triggered by a surprisingly broad range of input. Genital stimulation, duh. But also, Kinsey interviewed a woman who could be brought to orgasm by having someone stroke her eyebrow. People with spinal cord injuries like paraplegias quadriplegics will often develop a very, very sensitive area right above the level of their injury, wherever that is. There's such a thing as a knee orgasm in the literature. I think the most curious one that I came across was a case report of a woman who had an orgasm every time she brushed her teeth. This was it's something in the complex sensory motor action of brushing her teeth was triggering orgasm. And she went to a neurologist who was fascinated, and he checked to see if it was something in the toothpaste, but no, it happened with any brand. They stimulated her gums with a toothpick to see if that was doing it. No, it was the whole, motion. And the amazing thing to me is that you would think this woman would have excellent oral hygiene.
If you want to find out a little bit more what is after that, please go and watch the TED video. It's kind of amazing. It's kind of interesting. Okay, anyway, so moving on to the emotional part. This is the part that I think males in the room, you can beg to differ, but I hold strongly to the point that I need an emotional connection. Of course, I should have done this disclaimer earlier on. This is all my personal opinions. I might be wrong, I might be right, it might not be what you feel, but yeah, these are all my personal opinions. So, emotional connection to climax, and if you want to get a woman in the mood for sex, is to make a strong emotional connection outside the bedroom. To me, this is kind of self-explanatory, but maybe for the gentleman, it's not. It's okay. Point number one. To me, you need a Freudian slip. You need an emotional connection before we actually hit the bedroom. This is especially true for me because I would say pretty much most of the time, right? After sex or after my orgasm, I kind of have this meltdown. I will actually start to cry. And on retrospect, when I actually, yes, the orgasm, you trigger things and you have involuntary muscle spasms, etc. But I don't think it relates to my tear ducts or whatever. But it's on an emotional level. I think I just feel that lack of connection. So it kind of breaks me down. And then I'll just start to tear basically. So I'm still kind of working on that. And just to backtrack a little bit, I should have said this earlier on in the start of the presentation, but I'm very grateful that I got this topic because in the process of preparing for it, I was actually procrastinating. I just could not get myself down to prepare for this at all. And then at one point of time, I stopped and I asked myself, why was I procrastinating? If I want to do it technically, it's not hard, right? The whole point is actually to do it on a personal level, to kind of open up myself and to share a lot more. And I realized that it was that vulnerability and that fear that I could not overcome. The fear for myself actually, it's not really the fear of standing here and sharing. It's the fear of me myself facing the issues that I have. And to me, it's a big issue. If you are gonna have sex and cry every time, it's seriously, I don't know, it's a mood. It just dampens the mood, right? Yeah, and so this, I also want to share another experience of mine. I got that the series 50 Shades of Grey. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of it. It's actually very erotic fiction, right? That focuses on this couple's relationship, which is related to BDSM. So I started reading it. I couldn't finish the book. There was 3 books in total. I got all 3, but I couldn't finish even the first one, and then I passed it off to Martha. So now I'm sitting in an office. If anybody wants to borrow, I think she wouldn't mind. Yeah, but the reason I brought this up is simply because why couldn't I finish reading the book? I was asking myself, why couldn't I finish reading the book? And when I was reading it, because it was about sort of a dom, what do you call it? A dom and a submissive. So basically, that couple in that book has this dom and submissive relationship where the woman has to submit to the guy in the bedroom in terms of any sexual activity. So whatever the guy wants, being chained, being whatever, she has to submit. And I realized subsequently that was what I had issues with. I could not see myself, or I could not allow myself to be put in such a submissive position, or to basically open up and put my trust into my other half, or to my partner, to say that I trust you, I fully connect with you, and whatever it is, I believe that it will not harm me, that it will be, it will be fun, it will be pleasurable, it will be exciting, etc. So those were really my issues that I could not get past. So I obviously haven't finished reading it yet, and I don't think I will be reading it for anytime soon, but hopefully when I picked it up and I do finish that series, I will let you know. But I think the whole series had a good ending. They probably got married and lived happily ever after. But my point here being is, no matter what kind of sexual attitudes you currently have, I think it's good for you to know yourself, know what are your trigger points, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And if you really feel a lot of discomfort, be it at any stage or at any level, that you be true to yourself, you be true for your partner, for yourself, to face up to it, to address it, to discuss it, and also to communicate. I think communication is something that, especially with regards or related to sex, is something very lacking in our community or in our society now. And to be honest, I can talk about all this to all of you simply because you are not my partner, I don't think I can bring myself up to talk to my other half and say, hey, can you do this, or I have this huge fear that I cannot open up to you. This is my challenge. This is something that I'm still trying to resolve. Hopefully after this it will get better because I practiced, right? Martha likes to say practice makes perfect. Or, okay, I will save the other one for later. Yeah, so I'm going to move on to mental constructs and stereotypes. So as we all know, I think I will just kind of fly through this a little bit. There are a lot of expectations, a lot of conditioning in our society, as well as programming, modeling. Hongjun has really shared a lot about it. In terms of our sex ed in school, in my time there wasn't really much, It was like, I think it was primary 5 or maybe even sec 1, sec 2. They just teach you about the reproductive cycle, about menstruation, etc. They don't touch on anything more related to the birds and the bees, or even sexual attitudes. So I'm not sure for all of you, but for me, I grew up in kind of a conservative environment, a conservative family, and there are these expectations that I suppose, no premarital sex, when you get married, you be a good wife, you have kids, to take care of the family, etc. The whole point of bringing this up is for you to kind of ask yourself, what are the expectations you have with regards to a sexual relationship, and how much of it is really you? How much of it do you really truly feel is something that is important to you versus what society is telling you, or what the movies are showing? They show all that romantic, passionate love that makes you kind of long for it, and then you watch all the Korean dramas, and then you just cry and cry because it's just not happening, right? Or whatever is not working out for them. So yeah, so it just comes back to ourselves. What really is important, and if you could actually look deep into yourself and kind of identify what were models, or what were the programs or the conditioning that were kind of imprinted on you, that might actually help you a little bit in looking at how you actually address a sexual relationship now. It could be anything as simple as your parents, they don't hold hands, they don't kiss, so you think that it's not appropriate to display affection. Of course, we understand that in their generation, that is how things are. That is how they love each other for sure. Maybe they don't, if it's arranged marriage, whatever. But that is just how it is. But that really doesn't mean that we have to follow them, right? It could be you just need to expand your own comfort zone, or work on your own, whatever works for you, basically. Fake orgasm. So just now I was going to say, Martha has another favorite phrase: fake it until you make it. But okay, this is not the whole point of this slide. This is kind of tied to the mental stereotypes and constructions that I was talking about earlier. But in some cases, quite a bit of research has been done to show that quite a huge percentage of women actually fake orgasms. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. I didn't kind of read into the research. There are kind of two things I want to share here. So can I move? So why why some women fake orgasms. I suppose, broadly speaking, it's to kind of protect their partner's feelings, to end sex, to increase their own arousal, which is the fake it till you make it. Because sometimes when you fake it, be it vocalization, be it all the actions, you get yourself a little bit more into the mood or into the flow, to get the energy flowing. So that might actually just help you as well. Okay, but what I really wanted to touch on with regards to fake orgasms, it's not the fact that I fake orgasms, it's the fact that it's a mental, to me it's a mental thing as well. That if your head already says I'm not interested, the body can choose not to react or respond to the sexual stimulus or the sexual arousal that might be coming. So if you, well, I'm not sure about you, but if you actually agree that a lot of it can be controlled by the mind, you can actually use your mind to play up a lot of things. You can use your mind to magnify or to intensify your whole sexual experiences. Yeah, another reason I wanted to share this is tied to this rather is the fact that for me, I'm going to embarrass myself here. I'm actually a very selfish person. Even in a sexual relationship, I'm a very selfish person. If I'm not in the mood, I'll just say no, I'm not in the mood. I don't compromise. I don't go down to the level of, okay, why don't we try some foreplay and maybe the mood will change. This is something, I mean, yeah, it's up to personal, it's up to you individuals, but this is something that I would want to change in the long term. Because if you are in a relationship, if you love each other, it can be a compromise, it can be not today, it can be, I'll give you a massage or something else, really, and not to the whole extreme of forget it. Is what I say or it's a no-go kind of thing. Yeah. So anyway, so that's something for you to think about. So I was mentioning that, you know, your mind is really this wonderful it's an organ, right? Your mind is this wonderful organ that can really help you think yourself to an orgasm. This is just something that I'm going to show. Not much meat, but it's just fun.
When I was working on the book, I interviewed a woman who can think herself to orgasm. She was part of a study at Rutgers University. I love that, Rutgers. And so I interviewed her in Oakland at a sushi restaurant. And I said, so could you do it right here? And she said, yeah, but I'd rather finish my meal if you don't mind. But afterwards, she was kind enough to demonstrate on a bench outside. It was remarkable. It took about 1 minute. And I said to her, are you just doing this all the time? She said, no, honestly, when I get home, I'm usually too tired. She said that the last time she had done it was on the Disneyland Trail.
Yes, so if you can get to that stage where you can think yourself to an orgasm, that would be quite cool, right? I mean, depending on your whole purpose of having an orgasm in the first place. Okay, so moving on to intimate communion, this is what I will kind of broadly classify as the spiritual, so-called spiritual connectedness aspect of an orgasm. And earlier I said that you need to look at orgasm in a bigger context in terms of the sexual response cycle, but in the even bigger context of a loving relationship. Because to me, sex is not everything. I think to me more importantly, as I mentioned, is that emotional connection, is that mutual respect between you and your partner. And it can really move beyond what the society has so-called stereotyped the roles that we should have. It's not only just husband and wife or mother and father. It could be an equal relationship. I mean, okay, not to say that the husband-wife identity is not balanced, but in certain of our cultures, it's just not. Unfortunately, it just isn't balanced. So to me, the ideal scenario, the ideal relationship that I would really like is one that has a relationship that is passionate, has a lot of connection, there is a lot of respect and a lot of mutual love for each other. So this is something that is important to me. I'm not sure how important it is to you as well, but this is my ideal basically, yes. So along the way, I've shared a little bit about my personal thoughts about orgasms or about sexual relationship. I just want to talk a little bit more about my personal journey. Martha would know, since she has known me for 10 years, I have not been always this vocal, I have not been always this open. See, they're all sniggering. I'm always the one who hides at the back and don't speak up at all. So there's been a lot of change, and I'm very grateful for all the support of my friends. And so these are some of the things that I've kind of tried along the way. I mean, if it works out for you, please go ahead. So movement, dance. I think dance is really a good way to bring yourself back into the present, to really feel yourself here. Because a lot of times when we are out there or when we do work, we are a lot in our head. You know, we are processing, we are thinking, okay, how should I do this? How should I address this? Am I judging? Am I really discriminating? So when you really do some movement work, it could be just very simple dance, it could be you just hop, you know, anything, exercise. It kind of brings you a little bit more back into your body. You can feel your muscles, you feel yourself, feel that presence, feel here. And that is something that I suspect, I'm not sure, that in a lot of sexual relationships is missing. That you can be having sex but you're thinking, what should I be cooking for dinner? You know, that kind of thing, or I have a lot of work, okay, once I finish it, I'm gonna shower, I'm gonna move back to my laptop and finish up my leftover piling report that is due tomorrow, kind of thing. So movement is a good way for you to bring yourself back here. It can be salsa dance, it could be, I mean, go for tango class with your other half. Work together. Then in terms of inner work, there's a whole spectrum of inner work, but to me, just focusing on mindfulness and awareness is related to movement. So you bring yourself a little bit more back, you'll be more mindful of yourself, more mindful of your thoughts maybe, especially, or your emotions. Because when you are making love, for example, it could be just going through the process, it could be a lot of things in your head, but you don't process all the details, so as to speak. Because, I mean, there are a lot of details that we tend to not, it's not to ignore, but we're just not aware. Like the feelings that arises, do I feel protected, do I feel loved, or is it just an act, or is it because we're trying for a kid, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, so inner work, simply put, if we could all increase our awareness level or our mindfulness level, that even in the act of making love, that we show the respect in our hearts, we feel the kind of gratitude and respect for our other half. I do think that will actually improve the whole experience a lot more, as well as up the level of the connection between the two of us, or two of you. Courage is something that kind of is coming up now, and more so. Courage to be here, courage to speak up, courage to share what you really feel, courage to face yourself, more importantly. To me, that is more important. To face yourself, to face your own fears. Can you allow yourself to be vulnerable in front of your other half and trust that he will protect you, trust that you are loved, trust that you will be guided by him? And that is also in another way tied to communications, because if you do not talk about any of these with your partner, they wouldn't really know, you know. Guys can't tell what a woman is thinking, and half the time the woman doesn't know what we are thinking. Sorry. But that's how I feel. You have so much thoughts running, you have so much emotions arising, and then you kind of get confused, and your partner wants this, you want that, but you're not communicating on a lot of different levels. So you're communicating but not really expressing yourself, or you're communicating and not listening to the other half. So there are a lot of all these things that I think, which I worked on, which I think we can all look at. The commitment to each other, and lastly, orgasmic energy. If you are into kind of energy work, or even if you are not, of course there is a lot of energy going in terms of the increased blood circulation, blood pressure, etc. Technically, you can actually harness those energies to make it work for you, but I will not touch on that. That is more for me. So this is just a kind of trivial. So, well, if you are kind of familiar with history, or if you read those Victorian times romance novels kind of thing, you'll know that in like maybe the 1800s, 1900s, women, if they have hysterical disorders, the doctors will actually so-called prescribe an orgasm. I suppose how that works is really the release of all the tension that's in the body. Yeah. So actually, if you have a headache, you can sort of cure it with an orgasm as well. I truly believe that, and I tried that out. Of course, maybe not 100%, but because you release a lot of the tension in the body, that actually soothes the headache a bit. Okay, but more importantly, what I really wanted to share with that is actually is the headache, to take more time. It's a feel-good thing, it's a physical thing, it's a release of sexual tension, but I think we really need to take a little bit more time to learn how our body works, to know what is comfortable for you, what is not, what is your limits, what are you just don't want to do, and that is what it takes for you to face up, and then it will then translate into a more healthier, meaningful sexual relationship as well. So what I want to say and to challenge you is really to move beyond orgasms, because orgasm is only one part of the whole sexual relationship or the sexual connectedness, but in the bigger context of a relationship, there is a lot more in play than just orgasms. But I'm not sure, it seems as if because of all the popular culture and stuff, orgasms is like a big thing. You must have an orgasm, or they kind of missed out that there is a lot more before that and after that as well. Because once if it's just a one night stand, after your orgasm you say goodbye, then there is nothing left. So what's the point basically? Yes, so what I want to leave you with is kind of three words, yeah. Firstly, awareness, to be aware of yourself, to be aware of what your partner needs. And secondly, communication, because once you know that, then you can promptly communicate to each other. And lastly, my last word, which I sort of forgot, sorry, my last word is connectedness. Yeah, because after you communicate, then you can connect, right? If you don't even communicate, how can you actually connect? Right, so that's it for now. Yeah, I'm sweating already. Thank you.